6 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Daman Zaman. The headlines. The Prime Minister has called for collective efforts to crush the menace of terrorism and ensure the writ of the state. Shahbaz Sharif has paid glowing tributes to the sacrifices of the security personnel in the war on terrorism. The Deputy Prime Minister says the government is determined to enhance healthcare through improvement in medical education and training. The Chairman All Parties Hurriyat Conference has rejected Modi's announcements of development projects in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Cuba has announced to join South Africa in the genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. In the ICC T20 World Cup 2024, the match between Bangladesh and India will be played at North Sound today. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif has called for collective efforts to crush the menace of terrorism and steer the country on the path of sustainable development. Chairing a meeting of the Apex Committee of the National Action Plan in Islamabad today, he said it is our collective responsibility to ensure the writ of the state. He noted that a soft state can never be an attractive place for domestic and foreign investors, emphasizing that it is the prime responsibility of all the institutions to play their part in eliminating the menace. The Prime Minister said personnel of the armed forces have been rendering sacrifices in the war on terrorism and also registered successes which have no precedence. He, however, emphasized that the armed forces are not solely responsible to fight the scourge. He said the federal and the provincial governments, as well as all the institutions, will have to play their parts. The Prime Minister held out a firm assurance to provide necessary equipment and resources to the security forces in the fight against terrorism. He said legislation will not be done to strengthen law enforcement agencies. He said we will also have to counter fake news and disinformation through legislation. The Prime Minister stressed active diplomacy with the regional countries in order to lighten the noose around the terrorists. The Prime Minister Mohammad Shahbaz Sharif has paid glowing tributes to the sacrifices of security personnel in the war on terrorism. In his remarks on the occasion of the funeral service of Sepoy Harun William at the St. Paul's Church in Rawalpindi today, he said the blood rendered by the security personnel will not go in vain. Sepoy Harun William, a devoted Christian soldier, sacrificed his life in the defense of the motherland in Koram district yesterday in line of duty in counter-terrorism operations. The Prime Minister said history of the armed forces of Pakistan is full of such great sacrifices and there is no precedence of it in the contemporary world. He recognized the services of the minorities, including Christians, Hindus and Sikhs, in diverse fields. Shahbaz Sharif said they are also rendering services in different wings of the armed forces. He especially mentioned the contributions of the Christian community in the field of education. Shahbaz Sharif said all the citizens of the country enjoy equal rights under the country's constitution and they have every right to excel in the fields of their choice. He said Pakistan will be transformed into a welfare state as espoused by the Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Dr. Allama Muhammad Iqbal through collective efforts. The Chief of the Army Staff, General Sayyid Asim Munir, honored the sacrifice of Sepoy Harun William, Sepoy Anush Rufan and their comrades, saying that their unity and bravery exemplify the strength of the nation. He reaffirmed that the nation will always be indebted to their services and sacrifices for the honor of the motherland. Earlier, the funeral ceremony of Sepoy Harun William was also attended by the Defence Minister, Interior Minister, Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Chief of the Army Staff, General Sayyid Asim Munir, senior civil and military officers, soldiers, citizens and relatives. He was laid to rest with full military honours in Rawalpindi. Funeral prayers of Havaldar Akil Ahmed, resident of Okada, Lance Naik Muhammad Tafir, resident of Punch, Sepoy Anosh Rufan, resident of Attak, and Sepoy Muhammad Azam Khan, resident of Haripur, were also held in the respective hometowns with full military honours. The Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi has directed for strict implementation of security plan for foreign nationals, especially Chinese workers. He was chairing an important meeting in Islamabad today to review the measures taken for the protection of foreigners, especially Chinese citizens. He said formulated plans should be regularly monitored at every level, and the relevant departments should keep close contact to destroy the nefarious intentions of anti-national elements. The meeting was briefed about the security plan and the overall situation from the relevant institutions. The Deputy Prime Minister, Mohammad Isagdar, has reaffirmed the government's determination to enhance healthcare through comprehensive improvement in medical training and education. Chairing the second meeting on medical education today, he said our institutions must be empowered to provide top-tier education and training to future medical professionals. He said the government is committed to support next generation of healthcare professionals and ensuring that they receive the best possible education and training. This is Radio Pakistan. The illegally incarcerated chairman of the All Parties Hurriyat Conference, Musarrat Alam Bhatt, has dismissed Narendra Modi's recent announcements of development projects in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. In a special message from the notorious and infamous Tihar jail in New Delhi, he said Kashmiris are not striving for development or privileges, but for their fundamental inalienable right to self-determination. Musarrat Alam Bhatt underscored the Kashmiris' legitimate right to self-determination, affirmed by India to the international community and supported by numerous United Nations resolutions. He criticized Modi's visit as an attempt to mislead the international community about the dire situation in the occupied territory. Rejecting India's assertions of normalcy, he noted that the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir has essentially been turned into a military camp with one soldier for every 5 residents. He emphasized that genuine peace and development can only be achieved by resolving the Kashmir dispute in accordance with the United Nations resolutions. Cuba had decided to join South Africa in the genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice at The Hague. According to Radio Havana, Cuba, the case seeks to halt the atrocities and indiscriminate use of force against the Palestinians in Gaza enclave. Cuba has stressed that Israel has consistently ignored its obligations as an occupying power under the Geneva Convention. It called for justice and adherence to the United Nations Charter and international law. 25 Palestinians were martyred and 50 wounded in an Israeli attack on tents sheltering displaced families in Al-Mawasi area in Gaza enclave during the last 24 hours. The Gaza Health Ministry said martyrdom toll of Palestinians in the Israeli aggression in the besieged enclave since October 7 last year has risen to over 37,500. And now cricket. In the ICC T20 World Cup 2024, the match between Bangladesh and India will be played at North Sound today. The match will start at 7:30 in the evening. And finally, the weather report. Mainly hot and dry weather is expected in most parts of the country during the next 12 hours. However, windstorm and thunderstorm rain is expected at isolated places in Kashmir and the adjoining hilly areas. And that is the end of this news bulletin. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk, and you can also watch live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.